What if the scariest thing on your flight wasn't the turbulence, but the passenger sitting right next to you? Today, we're going to tear apart a short animated horror story to see exactly how it builds a nightmare, piece by terrifying piece. So it all kicks off with something we can all relate to, a delayed flight. But right away, the story starts layering in this sense of unease. It's Halloween. That one little detail instantly primes your brain for something weird, something supernatural. It turns a boring wait at the airport into the opening shot of a horror movie. To really get how this story builds its terror, we're going to follow the narrator's journey through 5 key stages. We'll start with that unsettling setup, get to the morbid reveal, and then follow the fear as it just keeps escalating, all the way to its haunting, ambiguous ending. Every great horror story knows this. Before the monster ever shows up, you have to build the perfect cage. The environment itself has to feel like a trap. So let's take a look at how this story masterfully builds its own little prison of fear. I mean, just look at this recipe for dread. You've got the spooky vibe of Halloween. Then you add the isolation of a nearly empty cabin, the disorientation from a flight that's now happening late at night, and top it all off with the ultimate claustrophobia of being trapped in a metal tube miles above the ground. There is literally no way out. And here it is, the first little crack in reality. It's a simple, polite request, but it's weird, right? Why does he have to move? This tiny little disruption, this invasion of his personal space, it's a signal to all of us that something is just fundamentally wrong here. Okay, so that small, unsettling request, that was the first domino. Now let's see where it leads. This is the story's big turning point, the morbid reveal. This is where that quiet, creepy feeling just explodes into straight-up terror. You can just feel the whole atmosphere on the plane shift. That low hum of chatter just dies. The air gets thick with what the narrator calls sorrow and dread. And that heavy, oppressive silence, it's a classic horror move. It builds this almost unbearable tension for what's about to happen. And there it is, the reveal, the reason for the move, the reason for the silence. There's a corpse on the plane. All that vague unease we've been feeling, now it has a very concrete, very horrifying focus. They are trapped thousands of feet in the air with death itself. Now, a reveal like this isn't just for shock value. In storytelling lingo, this is what you call the inciting incident. It's that one moment that completely shatters the narrator's world and launches him right into the main conflict. From this point forward, absolutely nothing is going to be the same. So, we have our horror locked in, a dead body on a plane. But how does the story keep you on the edge of your seat? Well, that brings us to part 3, fear at 30,000 feet, where the tension gets cranked up to a level that is almost unbearable. Our narrator, totally overwhelmed, escapes to the restroom, the smallest, most private space on the plane, just trying to get a grip. But the story won't even give him that. He locks the door, and then, thud, a single, violent bang against the door, followed by that same creepy silence. The one place he thought was safe has just been violated. And this is just a brilliant psychological twist. The known horror, the corpse out in the cabin, suddenly seems way less threatening than the unknown horror that was just on the other side of that flimsy door. The fear isn't just something he's looking at anymore, it's an active, unseen threat. That unseen threat just catapults us right into the story's climax, an unexplained encounter. This is where the whole thing shifts from an external horror to a much deeper psychological terror. The lines between what's real and what our narrator is perceiving get very, very blurry. Okay, check out this jarring disconnect. Our narrator stumbles out of the bathroom after this terrifying experience, and what does he see? The flight attendant calmly serving drinks like absolutely nothing happened. His reality of a violent, scary event is crashing head-on with her reality of business as usual, and that creates this intense paranoia. Is she in on it? Or is he actually losing his mind? And then comes the final crushing blow to his sanity. It wasn't just the flight attendant. No one reacted. Can you imagine that feeling? That complete and total psychological isolation? The terrifying thing that just happened might have only happened inside his head. He's forced to question his own reality. This profound sense of doubt leads us perfectly into our final section, the ambiguous conclusion. And this is where we'll see why the most powerful weapon a horror storyteller has is not answering every question. In the end, what's our narrator left with? Rationalization. He starts grasping for any logical reason. Maybe it was just a prank, maybe he misremembered the sound, anything to make sense of the terror. But the story, it never confirms if he's right. It just leaves the truth hanging there, shrouded in doubt. And that right there is this story's real horror. It isn't the corpse, it's the unanswered question. By refusing to explain that banging on the door, the story forces our own imaginations to fill in the blanks. And let's be honest, the monsters we create in our own minds are always way more personal and way more terrifying than anything they could put on a screen. Ultimately, this story is just a masterclass in psychological horror. It proves that the most effective scares don't come from what we see, but from what we don't see. It leaves us with this lingering question that's really at the heart of every great scary story. Is the real fear not the monster you can see, but the one you can only imagine?